Hey guys, Sandy here. Welcome back to the channel. I am super excited to be playing with some embossing powder and the Sprinkled with Love paper pad from Brutus Monroe. I pulled out some wood grain paper and a couple photos of Christopher and I down, where were we? Fort Bragg. So let's see what I can do. Okay guys, so I'm taking this wood grain paper and I'm also taking my embossing pad from Brutus Monroe and just swiping it down the paper in 3 different areas. What that's going to do is allow me to create a really cool background without any wet, right? Like there's no paint, there's none of that. This is simply me taking my embossing powder and placing it over the areas that I embossed. Look at that. Now the magic is going to happen because you and I both know that embossing is magical. Sometimes I think we get a little confused with our embossing where like, I can only emboss sentiments. I can only emboss stamped images. No, you don't need to. You can emboss all the things. Look, I'm embossing my background paper and it turns out fabulous. So I am using my heat gun to go ahead and make the magic happen here. Now I am a fan of the imperfections and where the embossing pad picked up more on some places and less on some places. However, if you want a solid block of embossing, you could always use some washi or some low-tack tape, and you could go ahead and run your embossing pad through the 2 sides of the tacky tape. That way you'd get straight rectangular boxes if you wanted to do that. But like I said, I am a fan of this look, completely a fan of this look. So now that all of my embossing is nice and smooth and shiny and melted, look at that gilded embossing powder. And that little paper shake wasn't for you guys. It was for me. It was a this makes me so happy kind of thing. So now I have the 3 photos of me and my husband, and these photos were taken in rapid succession, so they're almost the exact same photo. We were taking selfies, and someone that was there was like, hey, would you like me to take a picture for you? And we were like, sure. So they just slammed that little shutter on the phone and took a ton of pictures. So now I am going to use my Sprinkled with Love paper pad. And the beautiful thing about this paper pad is it's not just sprinkles. Like there are B-sides and back sides, and everything is not just a sprinkle. And that makes me super, super happy. So I am trimming down the papers so that I can have a nice background for my photos. And now I'm going to bring in even more embossing. So I'm using some Brutus Monroe stencils. I'm going to go ahead and just emboss with my embossing pad through the stencil. Now I'm not swiping the stencil on this one. I am pushing through the stencil, and I'm giving it just a little bit of a shake. This is sped up, so the shake probably looks a little bit more pronounced than it truly is. But I am not swiping on the stencils because I don't want my embossing powder or my embossing ink to get under the stencil. I just want it to go through the areas where the stencil negative is, right? Like I just want that. I don't want to mess. So I am only also going to worry about doing the outer edges of these papers, and you might be thinking, you're a maniac. I might be, but you know, there's no point. My photos are going to cover this up. So I'm using the rose gold embossing powder, and then again, the magic is going to happen. I'm taking my heat tool and just embossing all around the edges so that I have some nice smooth and melted things, which makes me ridiculously happy. Smooth and melty things like make me happy. I don't know what else to say. They just do. And if smooth and melty things make you happy, maybe this is something that you'd want to try as well. So I'm just going to make sure that each one of these cards has its proper bits on here. I don't want any of the embossing powder to fall off, so I am just going to take the time to go over it and ensure that it is all done. Now I'm going to use some adhesive for the back of my photos and plop them down over top of the embossed pieces of paper. Now, again, I embossed over pattern paper. A lot of the times you think, wow, I should only be embossing over cardstock. No, do your thing. Do your thing. Add all the color, add all the pattern, add all the things that you want to do to kind of like liven up your project. Like that's what you want to do, right? Like, so that's what you should do. So now that I have these three down, I'm going to keep on using that Swiffer. It kind of takes care of the embossing powder little sprinkly bits that get all over my desk. I always have a Swiffer close by for that exact reason. Now on the back side of that sprinkled with love paper pad, that is screaming ice cream cone, is it not? So I am just going to pop these photos up with some fun foam right here. And then I'm going to add more adhesive just to make sure that these bad boys are going to stick. Now, I will say one little trick that I have discovered with fun foam is that it doesn't always like to stick with a tape runner type thing. So if you start on your paper and then move it across the foam and end on your paper, it generally sticks. However, this ATG gun is giving me an absolute fit. The tension on the inside is messed up and I just haven't had the patience to mess with it. So I need to do that. But now I'm going to get my photos down here on my background paper. Look at that. Now, as you can see, the background paper did curl up a little bit. That is because this is a thinner type of background paper. It's not a super thick one. I am okay with my pages curling. If you haven't figured that out, I am totally okay with it. My pages sit in a stack for a month and then they go into page protectors and then get put away in albums where they flatten out. So it doesn't stress me out. I don't worry about it at all. I am going to trim down some more of the paper pads down to banner size. And I'm just making sure that I have a little bit of that decoration showing. So I have some of the clouds showing, I have some of the hearts showing. And then over here, there are some sprinkles showing. I cut a little fishtail banner in and tuck each of these bad boys underneath of a coordinating photo. And I'm like, yeah, this is working out pretty good. So now I've got my photos and my banners and I am making something gorgeous with the embossing powder and the paper pad. So I go and digging into my stash because I need a little bit of something extra, just something with a little bit of oomph. So I'm going to add some florals. And these florals are going to go on specific places on my layout. I am choosing florals in my collection that coordinate with the colors from the Sprinkled with Love paper pad. I'm not choosing anything that's going to be garish or something that you're going to look at it and be like, why in the world are those flowers on that layout? Because I'm using all kinds of different icons here, right? I've got the clouds, I've got sprinkles, which is kind of like a confetti. I've got the hearts. As you can see, the ATG is still giving me a fit. And now I've got the flowers. So I'm using all kinds of icons on this layout. So I need them to coordinate with each other. I don't want one to stand out more than the other. I don't want you to look at the layout and go, wow, that's a layout about flowers. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, wow, that's a layout about hearts. Oh, no, it's not. I just want the icons to kind of be there as a beautiful decoration. So I'm going to add in some leaves as well, because why not? Flowers have leaves, right? So it's totally acceptable. Going to go ahead and get those down too. And I am, you know, having fond memories, reliving how much awesome fun we had on this trip. I'm trying to figure out where exactly the leaves need to go. And now I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, what needs to happen next? Like, what will complete this layout? And I'm thinking I probably should put a title down. And I'm wondering if I should do a big title, if I should do a small title, if I should leave the strips of embossed areas like naked with their banners, or if, you know, I should just embrace it and really go for it. So ultimately, I decide to embrace it and really go for it. I pull some letters from my stash. So these are like a khaki-ish color letter. I think it might even have a little wood grain to it. I don't know. They read khaki to me with golden sparkle around. So I decide that I am going to use all 3 banners for my title. And I am going to spell out "Love You So." Because I do. I love him so much. He's such a good one. So once I get that down, that will do it for this layout. Now, of course, I am going to add some adhesive to these letters off camera. I don't think I do that here on camera. And then I'm going to add in a couple more little bits here just to bring in those letters on the left-hand side of the page too. So I get those down. And then that's going to do it for this layout, you guys. I hope you enjoyed watching this layout come together. I hope you had half the fun I had putting it together. I'm like, give me some embossing powder, a paper pad, and just a tiny other bit of stuff, and I am in heaven. So there it is. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.